Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation and pay my respects to their elders, both past and present. It is not always easy to be the last speaker of an interesting day. I'm sure you've all got commitments to go to, and I'm sure you've had a lot of mind-expanding discussion, or indeed you might have had discussion which reinforces your worldview, but either way, it's still a long day. But I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak to you. There are many views of equality, and again, I was just listening to some of the panel's discussions before my session. So what I'd like to do is just update you, give you a bit of a report on what the Attorney General is doing in the Gillard government, and then add some of my own thoughts, if that's all right, and then if time permits we can take some questions. Specifically, I was asked to address I should say I'm the Assistant Treasurer, so it's a good job, but it means that I'm not immediately involved in some of the issues you're talking about, but I did consult with my colleague Robert McLeod before coming here today, and the Minister for Finance and Deregulation, Senator the Honourable Penny Wong, because they are the Ministers tasked with the consolidation of federal anti-discrimination laws. Now, all of you here are here because you're interested in equality. You think equality has meaning, and you are determined to improve people's access to it. And you all understand that the law is an important tool in the armoury of trying to fight against oppression, fight against inequality, fight against unfairness. My own background is that I was a lawyer at Maurice Blackburn, not a very good one, but I still was out there. Did class actions. There was the Wrongs Act of 1958. Has a little used section that if something falls out of the air, then there's strict liability that the owner of the aeroplane has to compensate the people. I just argued that included the plane itself after a plane crash. No one was killed. But anyway, that's just my trip down memory lane. The reality is, before going to Parliament 3.5, 4 years ago, I spent the previous 14 years being a union rep with the Australian Workers Union. And for me, I get that equality has to have meaning in people's life. My particular area was, of course, equality in the workplace. And I often recognise that a fight which could start on the factory floor at the old Kinnears Roadworks in Footscray or the Smorgon Steelworks in Albion, in Ballarat Road, could end up before the Federal Court or indeed the Nauru House at the Industrial Relations Commission. So I get that there's an intersection between law and people's practical access to cajoling and promoting equality. One of the many reasons, or a fundamental reason why I joined the Labor Party at an early age and why I'm a strong believer in the Labor Party is that it has the longest track record of promoting and protecting equality. I believe that equality is core to the belief in the purpose of the Labor Party. It was forged 120 years ago out of the collective struggle for equality in the workplace and a recognition that when the strikes of the 1890s didn't deliver the outcomes, and in fact the union leaders were jailed and conditions were cut, there was a need to legislate change. And of course this struggle has seen many proud achievements since then, from the basic rights in the workplace, and our system does compare favourably to other parts of the world. I mean, when you look in real dollar terms, the minimum wage in America hasn't increased since 1976 in real dollar terms. If you look at our own system, we do continue to advance there, but of course we have the age pension, with Medicare, with superannuation. I also think that for us this traditions also manifest in Commonwealth anti-discrimination laws that reflect through the legislature changing attitudes, community attitudes to equality and inclusion. Again, many of you are familiar, the first of the 4 core Commonwealth anti-discrimination laws was the Racial Discrimination Act, enacted by the Whitlam government in 1975. Then the Hawke government followed through with the enactment of the Sex Discrimination Act in 1984, the Keating government with the Disability Discrimination Act in 1992, and not that I often am, but I must recognise that the Age Discrimination Act came in under that other government. But that was my technical partisanship. This Labor government has progressed the equality reform agenda substantially since coming to power in 2007. And again, people will be familiar here that we have changed 85 different Commonwealth laws which went to the discrimination of same-sex couples and their children. We were amongst the first nations to ratify the Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities in 2008. We ended a decade of inertia by finally, none too soon, introducing the Disability Access to Premises Building Standards, and we passed the Disability Discrimination and Other Human Rights Amendment Act. In June of this year, we've amended sex and age discrimination legislation to provide better protection against sexual harassment and discrimination on the basis of family responsibilities and breastfeeding. And it is important to dwell on what needs to be done, but it is also important to always take stock of what has been accomplished. But the government is very conscious that anti-discrimination law has become very complex. Our government want to make it easier for people to understand their rights and to meet their obligations. That's why a key element of Australia's human rights framework is to consolidate anti-discrimination law into a single act. We want to remove unnecessary regulatory overlap and make the system more user-friendly. As part of that process, we'll include protections against discrimination on the basis of a person's sexual orientation or gender identity. Our work on this project is well underway, and the government hopes to be in a position soon to announce further information, including details of our consultation. But having said what we're doing, I feel that, and you've had this stimulating conference with a lot of people with perspectives from different angles, I'd like to take you perhaps to some of my observations I have, based on spending all my adult life fighting about debates where people lack power and how do we empower people. And there's no question in the prism of our law, Australia has made significant advances, yet I guess it's one of the reasons why I stopped being a lawyer and became a union organiser instead. There are limitations to what the black letter law can do. And whilst it's important to have very good black letter law, that in itself has failed to deal with a whole lot of pervasive areas of entrenched discrimination and disempowerment. The fact that Indigenous Australians have a lower life expectancy than non-Indigenous Australians, the fact that you're 14 times more likely to end up in jail, the fact that women spend almost 3 times as many hours per week looking after children as men. My wife would agree with that. But the fact that there's only 2% of the ASX 200, so that's 4 women share companies in the ASX 200, but they only hold just over 8 in every 100 board directorships, and the fact that women earn, on average, 83 cents of the male dollar. And of course, if you happen to be born with an impairment, you're less likely to finish school, to get a job, more likely to end up in prison, experience discrimination, and die sooner than people without impairment. Now, I mean, when I make those points about, for instance, the life of people with impairment, that takes nothing away, and indeed all those areas take nothing away from the efforts of advocates, as a matter of Ron McCallum or Graham Innes or Kevin Cox, the Queensland Anti-Discrimination Commission. They do fantastic work. So you have to ask yourself, if the system's still failing many Australians, despite the work of great advocates, including plenty of people in this room, if it's still failing, despite the presence of robust legislative provisions, I think it tells me there's just so much more that we need to do. And again, I'll go back to that point I made you a minute or two ago. The law alone is only one factor in achieving true equality. Just as money can deliver power, access to opportunity and economic equality is crucial to delivering true equality. I do think it falls to governments for the tax and transfer system, regulation, legislation to create some of the policy settings to allow economic equality to be fulfilled. And I think that this is an area of debate which perhaps doesn't always get focused on in the strict discussion of human rights. But the government has to be committed to the pursuit of economic equality. I think this is perhaps the core challenge of change politics. Paul Kelly writes for The Australian in contemplating, in one of their usual flattering pieces in The Australian about the Labor movement, he contemplated the current state of the movement. He recently wrote that over the past 120 years, much of Labor's foundational purpose has been achieved. His implication, of course, is that the job is done and then the party's searching for identity. Now, he's right that we have come a long way. But he's wrong because so many significant challenges do remain. I believe that the government's pushing through equality in a range of fronts which are not recognised as rights issues, but I do believe they are, such as continuing to deliver now on climate change and putting a price on carbon. To me, that's about intergenerational equity. Increasing superannuation